The real question I suppose I want you guys to be asking isn't Nice versus Bordeaux. The real question would be, what day-to-day experience do you want to give yourselves? So don't ask yourself which city is better. I'd say ask, which life do I want to live, not just now, but for years to come. If you're torn between Nice and Bordeaux for your move to France, you're not alone. These two cities attract thousands of international movers each year, retirees, remote workers, families, but for very different reasons. The mistake I see all the time is people falling in love with the idea of a place, the beach, the wine, the sunshine, without breaking down what their day-to-day life would actually look like once they're living there. We're going to run Nice and Bordeaux through a simple framework, taking into account rental lifestyle, expat communities, the French experience, accessibility, and climate, and most importantly, what all of that actually adds up to in your daily rhythm. And I'll bring in two real couples I've worked with, one who chose Bordeaux and one who chose Nice, so you can see how these decisions actually play out in real life. At the end, I'll give you a reflective question to help cut through the noise and a link to my free quiz to help you decide where in France you might actually belong. So to do this right, rather than giving out star ratings or pros and cons, we're going to think in terms of a decision flow. Ask yourself, if this matters most to me, which city is a natural fit? By the end, you should see yourself leaning clearly one way or the other. Well, that's my hope anyway. All right, framework one, value for money, particularly in the rental market. Now, interestingly, Nice caters heavily to the holiday short-term let market, especially at the higher end. Even when you're looking for a 12-month lease, a lot of what's on offer will feel like a polished Airbnb with glossy interiors, small balconies, great location, but not necessarily built for everyday living. For example, in Nice, a one-bedroom apartment in the city centre will average well over €1,000 a month, with a range that often stretches upwards to by another €1,500. For a property or a two-bed place with a sea view, you're looking at well above €2,500 without the extra space. Compared to Bordeaux, the same €2,500 budget can land you something very different, a proper townhouse in Chartres or a large long-term apartment designed for locals, not holidaymakers. You get more square metres, more comfort, more permanence. On the property side, the averages also tell the story. So Nice sits around €5,000 per square metre on average, and that can easily climb to 15,000 depending on the view, whereas Bordeaux averages much closer to €4,500 per square metre. So yes, both are expensive compared to rural France, but what you experience per square metre is almost in a parallel universe. If value for money, or I suppose space and long-term comfort priority, Bordeaux is definitely the stronger option. If the location, the glamour and the better weather is your priority, then probably Nice still holds the edge, and we'll explore this a little bit later. All right, next, expat communities. I like talking about this one because I think it's fundamental. Nice has long been one of France's most international hubs. It pulls in retirees, seasonal movers, professionals linked to Sophie Antipolis, and the result is a very broad mix. You'll hear English, Italians, Russians, Swedish in the same cafe terrace. It's easy to meet people. You'll never feel out of place. Bordeaux is pretty different. The international schools are pulling in more families and the expat presence is growing, but the crowd tends to be people looking for that classic French lifestyle, cafe terraces, markets, wine culture, but without the Paris prices. So breaking it down here, the choice is this. If you want instant community and global neighbours, Nice is definitely the safer bet. If you want to blend more quietly into French society, Bordeaux may be the better fit. Okay, so talking about the French experience, this is where the contrast really starts to jump out. In my opinion, Nice gives you that Riviera buzz. Beaches, palm trees, international neighbours and constant sunshine. It's France meeting the world. The French lifestyle here comes with an international flavour layered on top. Whereas Bordeaux gives you that urban French rhythm, cobbled streets, wine, cafe, it's on terraces again, university culture. There's less tourism churn. So it's more like everyday France than the Riviera France might be. So here's how I like to put it. Nice gives you the Riviera buzz, the beaches, the international neighbours and the constant sunshine, while Bordeaux gives you the French urban rhythm, wine, terraces, culture without the tourist crush. It's not that one is better than the other. The question is, which version of France do you want woven into your daily life? It's probably the most important question in this whole video. Moving past that, then there's actually how it intertwines with the rest of your life, I suppose. Both cities are connected to Paris by high-speed TGV. Nice is a little further, about 6 hours on the train versus just 2 hours from Bordeaux. But when it comes to flying, Nice wins hands down. Nice Airport has year-round direct flights to the UK, Europe and the Middle East, and even New York at certain times. It's like built for international movement, which makes sense given the demographic there. Bordeaux's airport is improving. It used to be a shed a couple of years ago, but many flights are seasonal. In winter, you might be connecting through Paris more often than you'd like. So I suppose if we're drilling down once more, if global accessibility is central to your lifestyle, you want people to come and visit you regularly, or you need to be on the move regularly, Nice is the clear winner. If most of your movement is France-centric or Europe-centric, Bordeaux will absolutely do just fine. All right, finally, climate. Pretty easy to do Google searches on this, but just to do the run through, Nice is Mediterranean, right? So summers get hot, winters are mild, and the sunlight is consistent. They say Nice averages around 2,700 hours of sunshine per year. So that's a lot of bright days. Bordeaux is on the Atlantic, so summers are warm but not as extreme. Winters are cooler, wetter, and greyer. Bordeaux averages around 2,000 hours of sunshine per year for perspective, so 25% less than Nice. That doesn't necessarily mean Bordeaux is gloomy, but it does mean your winter rhythm will include more grey skies and rain. Put simply, if you crave endless sun, then Nice delivers. But if you prefer seasons and balance and a little bit more variety and rhythm in life, Bordeaux is going to be a much better match. Okay, so I promised some case examples to help you guys out. So let's apply it first to the retired couple. If their dream is to wake up, walk to a cafe, maybe see the sea, and they're less worried about the size of the place they live in, then Nice will tick most of those boxes hands down. And it's where most people end up. But if they really want is room to breathe, historic streets, smaller parks, and cafes not overrun by tourists, then I would say Bordeaux takes it. That's exactly what happened for Christina and Tom earlier this year. They first came to me set on the Côte d'Azur, because that's where they'd holidayed. They had a strong budget, €3,500 a month, so technically plenty of options. But when we broke it down, they wanted space, at least 200 square metres. They wanted decent weather, but not too hot. And they wanted to avoid the tourist churn. So we took time to reimagine their days, strolling cobbled streets, watching pétanque games from the café terrace, visiting their daughter in London via a smooth train to Paris and Eurostar. And suddenly, Bordeaux wasn't just the practical choice, it was quite clearly the emotional fit, something they could get properly excited about. Now, on the flip side, let's take a younger couple. Dave and Jane had been holidaying in the Côte d'Azur and in Italy too for decades. Dave was still working and travelling a lot, and Jane wanted great weather and a community of people who live full on when they're working and full on when they're relaxing too. So for them, Nice, and specifically the Carré d'Or, was the obvious fit. Safe, buzzing, connected, and exactly the lifestyle they already loved. Okay, so here's my sort of closing notes on this. Here's the truth. There isn't a right answer. Nice gives you the Riviera buzz, the global access, and endless sun. On the flip side, Bordeaux gives you space, authenticity, and the French urban rhythm. The real question I suppose I want you guys to be asking isn't Nice versus Bordeaux. The real question would be, what day-to-day experience do you want to give yourselves? How's that meant to feel? Because once you choose a region, it often ends up defining you, and most people don't change again. So don't ask yourself which city is better. I'd say ask which life do I want to live, not just now, but for years to come. If you're still torn on this, I've built a free quiz where it'll sort of go into all the stuff that could be important to you and help you narrow down the region. It walks through the same decision framework I use with clients and helps you see clearly which region matches your lifestyle best. You'll find the link in the description for that. And if you're already leaning one way, let me know in the comments, Nice, Bordeaux, or somewhere else entirely. I'd love to hear your reasoning. Thanks for watching. À bientôt.